Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tar Heel Illustrated.com, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, Carolina basketball got their second transfer commit in just under a week, I guess now, with Oklahoma forward Brady Manek announcing his commitment to the Tar Heels. 6'9" forward, played four seasons at the University of Oklahoma. But before we dive into that and how it all went down, going to go ahead and blast a promo one last time for people who have been hearing it. Sign up before April 25th. Don't pay until August 1st to get free access, premium access, I should say, to our site. There's a ton of stuff to report on the boards, including what went down with Brady Manek, which I'm going to kick to AJ in a few minutes to talk about. We had a little scoop in there a couple hours before he ended up committing that was kind of letting people know several hours that was pretty a strong indication from our very own David Sisk that Manek was going to commit at some point this weekend. So shout out to David Sisk for being all over that. But go ahead and sign up over there. Like I mentioned, sign up for April 25th. Don't pay until August 1st. You get a ton of access to our premium boards and premium content that you can only access if you're signed up. But AJ, let's kick it back to Brady Manek. I'm going to let you kind of go through how he first came to your attention, kind of what David heard earlier today, and just the whole process and how we ended up committing to the Tar Heels. Excuse me.
Well, I floated his name out there. I think it was Monday on the board. Gosh, these days are all running together because we've also got football going on.
It's crazy time right now.
But I think it was Monday. And before I knew that Carolina was going to reach out or had reached out, I thought that he would be the perfect guy for them to reach out to, given what they were interested in. So when we found out that they had reached out, it was very, very quickly, shortly after that, became apparent that there was mutual interest. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy they wanted. There was a little communication with Tanner Groves, a kid from Eastern Washington who lit up Kansas in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But there was no offer there. There was an offer before Manek to Christian Bishop of Creighton. And I guess the difference between Christian Bishop and Brady Manek is that Brady Manek can rain him from three. Brady Manek is a scorer. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that can go off and give you 25 or 30 in a given night. And Bishop was more of a guy that plays down the blocks. He's only 6'7", only taken 8 3-pointers in his career. So I was trying to kind of figure out, okay, where does the Brady Manek and Christian Bishop interest come from, unless they want both? Because a lot of people are trying to apply that to one guy, and they're totally different players.
Yeah.
Manek makes total sense because Hubert Davis wants to have a stretch four. He's the quintessential stretch four in college basketball right now. Mm-hmm. Look on our story that we posted, his commitment story, and I've got 3 videos in there. This guy is a catch and shoot dude. He's ready to shoot every time he catches the ball. A lot of people may understand catching the basketball properly is a skill. And Brady Manek has that skill. He can also put the ball on the floor. He can take it to the rim. He's got some theatrics to his game. He can post up. He's really good at posting up, but he's more comfortable facing the basket and playing away. He's that guy that can set the high ball screen, pop off very quickly, catch, shoot right away and score. And when he's on, he's on. He's had 10 or 11 times at Oklahoma. He scored 20 or more, but he went for 31 against TCU. He went for 30 against Oklahoma State. In fact, in 2020, in the 2 big rivalry games, the Oklahoma State games, he had 30 and 29 in those games.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's interesting. Now, we really started getting Brady Manek stuff the last few days, started going heavy. We were diving into Christian Bishop. We were diving into Brady Manek. We kind of jumped off the Tanner Groves thing a couple of days ago. And we knew that he was going to commit. So I was actually getting Brady Manek stuff. I was texting with the guy who covers him from Oklahoma when it actually came through. And some of the things he said about Manek, and these are both positive and negative, is that he's not a very good defender. Said that this year if you look at his stats, he dropped off. He was at 14.5 points as a junior. He was down to 10.8 points this past year as a senior. Mm-hmm. He said, and I quote, they gave him the keys and he couldn't really handle it. Maybe he's not the go-to guy, but he's a really good secondary guy. And that may be what they figured out at Oklahoma this year. And that's okay, because Armando Bacot's going to be the go-to guy. And all signs point to him returning. We never thought that he was doing anything more than just getting information from the NBA, which I think was encouraged inside the program.
Yeah, it's a good move.
So Armando's your go-to guy. You've got Caleb Love back. You've got R.J. Davis, Kerwin Walton. You've got people who should be better at scoring next year than they were this past year. They'll all improve a lot. And then you throw Brady Manek out there. And suddenly, if you've got Baycott who could score, Manek at the 4 who could score, Caleb Love at the 1 who could score, and R.J. Davis, Kerwin Walton combination at 2 who could score, the concern that some people have with Leaky Black is not as big a concern. I think Leaky only stood out at times this past year, his inability to score in bunches because other guys weren't scoring. Mm-hmm. Suddenly you could have that glue guy at the 3 who doesn't have to do a ton of stuff that people wanted him to do this past year because other guys weren't doing it. That's what getting a guy like Manek does. I love guys who are ready to shoot, Jacob. Yeah. When he catches the ball, he's ready to shoot. He shoots over defenders. He gives a defender very little time to react. And I guarantee you that Hubert Davis, a shooter himself, when he started watching film on Brady Manek, he fell in love with that part of his game.
Yeah, I would agree. I was watching some highlights before we hopped on, and I'll obviously kind of look at more of his game over the next couple of days. You know, when I was rushing to do this podcast, I didn't have a ton of time to look into it. But one of the things that I did notice from some of his big performances over the past couple of years was how streaky he was. I mean, he was a guy that was just, when he started going, he was hitting them, and he wasn't struggling with that. So I think Manek's a guy that 6'9", a guy that can go down low, but when you got a guy who can step out and be a 3-point threat like he can, he's kind of more of that modern forward that you kind of see in the NBA a lot now, guys that can go down low but can also step out and have some kind of outside game. So I think what he provides in that respect is big time for this program. I'm going to go ahead and run through just a couple of stats from last year. He had 4 games last season where he scored 19-plus points, double figures in 14 games last season, averaged 10.8 points, 5.0 boards in 25 minutes, and shot 42.2% from field goal land. That was his lowest shooting percentage of his 4-year career, and his second lowest minutes per game over in his 4-year career at Oklahoma as well. But I think what you're getting in Manek is something that this program could really use. And what I mean by that, like you've mentioned, like I've said a few times, just a guy who can step out and stretch the floor as a big, I think is super valuable in college basketball to have.
When people think of Oklahoma, they think of football, and rightfully so. They have an amazing football history, but they have a good basketball history.
Oh, yeah.
This has been a program that's had a lot of success. For my viewing, I go back to the Wayman Tisdale days, Billy Tubbs, and those are really good teams. A lot of different coaches have won big at Oklahoma. Kelvin Sampson had a run. Lon Kruger just had a run. So it's a really good program. And when you look at the list of all-time leading scorers in Oklahoma history, there's some big-time names on there. And guess what? Brady Manek is 14.
It's pretty good.
He's the 14th all-time leading scorer in Oklahoma. And the other thing that jumped out at me when looking at his numbers is the perimeter shooting. The last 2 North Carolina teams were the 2 worst three-point shooting teams in program history. Brady Manek shot 37.6%, I think, in his first career from 3. His worst three-point shooting year was as a sophomore. He was at 35.8%. So he's kind of been in that range throughout his career, which means that North Carolina can be as close to penciling in a 37-38% shooter from the perimeter next year from a 6'9" guy who's going to drag bigs out to defend him. And suddenly Armando Baycott's going to have a lot of one-on-one situations where all he has to do is beat one defender. Last year, when you had multiple bigs more, there were a lot of times when Armando would make a nice move and he'd beat a guy and he'd go to his right or go to his left, and the second big defender was down there. Somebody was in the way. It wasn't that fluid. And by the way, we saw Armando add some stuff to his game late in the year. A little bit more of the dribble, a little bit more movement, and certainly greater quickness to the rim, a more decisive player. So imagine if he's only got one dude down there to beat, never has to worry about help side, or if there is help side, it's a guard coming down instead of another big. I think Armando, who was already very efficient this past season, might raise his efficiency level even higher. And they got that dude out there shooting threes. He might be an interchangeable guy with Justin McCoy. Dontrez Styles can kind of fill into that slot as well. Suddenly, Carolina just in my opinion, got a lot better because of the kind of player Manek is and the options that he gives Hubert Davis.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's a really solid pickup for this program, and obviously a guy that Hubert wanted, obviously a guy that the coaching staff really wanted. So I think bringing in a guy like Brady Manek for what he offers on the offensive end especially is really a big plus for them, and I think he's going to be a really solid addition for the year that he is in Carolina. As a reminder, he is, I guess, a super senior technically this year after playing 4 years at OU. But yeah, I mean, AJ, you were all over this one. Big shout out to David Sisk. Like I said earlier, he was all over this one on
Yeah,
Friday.
as soon as I found out he was, yeah, and as soon as I found out that, I didn't realize he was in the portal.
Yeah.
We've been so busy with so much. And as soon as I found out he was in the portal, I went to the board and said, keep an eye on this guy. And we found out shortly thereafter. Once Carolina got past putting all their eggs into that basket there for a while, and they started looking at the portal as a whole, when they realized that Manek was out there, this was a fairly quick process. And I think a kid like him, he's going to be a really interesting piece, an interesting, fun player to cover for a year. He's only got 1 year at North Carolina, but that's okay. And by the way, college basketball is getting a lot of these super seniors back next year. I think college basketball might actually be a little bit better because older, good players who may not be ready for the NBA or thinking NBA or whatever the case may be are going to be in the game, making teams like North Carolina better. And I know that people don't like the chaos, they don't like the wild, wild west stuff, but there are positives that can come out of this. And I think for Carolina, positives coming out of this wild, wild west stuff.
Yeah, agree, AJ. I think it's a good place to wrap it up. Carolina getting Brady Manek, 4-year player at Oklahoma, is transferring to North Carolina. As always, guys, like we've mentioned a lot during our latest videos, if you watch us on our YouTube channel, sign up before April 25th on our site. Don't pay until August 1st. Just hit the description below. There's a link in there to click. We'll take you right to our website, and you can sign up over there. Just use the promo code NC Free. And if you were over there, you would have got a hint, and you would have heard about this announcement, I should say, a couple hours before it happened. Like I said, David Sisk and AJ, of course, over the past week or so have been all over this one.
David crushed it.
He did. Fantastic job by David.
David could flex his muscles, man.
Yeah,
David
he definitely needs to flex it.
it.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job with the transfers, and that's the perks that you get from being on our premium boards, is getting scoops like that. So, like I said, go and head over there, TarHeelIllustrated.com, and take advantage of that deal before April 25th. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. You think Manek's a good addition to this Carolina program? Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.